Hi, I'm Frank Caruso, producer of Oregon Life. I have a brand new episode for you, but I got something real special. We're going to do something a little different. This is not as a visual episode, it's a listening episode because we went over to the high school and talked to two of the three people that created what we now know as Panther Radio. And this is a great opportunity for teachers and students, community members even. If you have an idea, bring it to Panther Radio. Kids come in and produce shows, direct shows, learn to work the equipment, write dialogue, like a radio newscast or a podcast newscast. So this is a great opportunity for people to learn another skill that you can take out into the world as we see the proliferation of podcasts. It's a great episode. I had fun with the guys, but remember, it's kind of a listening episode. So tune into this. It's up next, and thanks for watching Oregon Life. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to Oregon Life. It's a different episode this week. I'm at Panther Radio here at the Oregon High School, and we're going to be talking to three people that started this radio program that you can receive anywhere in the world. Isn't that correct, gentlemen?
At least in the United States at this point.
Yeah, we have goals for that, though. We'll get there.
So starting with Eric, introduce yourself and your role here, and then we'll move on down the line.
Yeah, so my name's Eric Rogers. I work in the high school. You probably know me from Panther Vision, at least the high schoolers do. So I create the media production that way, and then track and field coach and Oregon Panther Radio.
And sitting to my right?
Yeah, I'm Brian Towns. I've been a teacher in the alt-ed school Oasis for almost 10 years now, I guess. I've been a football coach. I've advised mock trial. And my background is I'm a social studies teacher, but during my time in Oasis, I've taught some math, managed some science, a little bit of everything. We're really just trying to put a lot of pieces in place to help students find a strong path to graduation. But now Tim and I, in the past summer or so, we've been talking about radio a lot. I'm a big radio listener, podcast listener, and Tim got in touch with Eric. Now somehow, in some way, radio is becoming blended with the school and Oasis, and so it's another thing that's another hat to be worn and here for myself in Oasis.
You know, this is really exciting. Radio goes back, 1920s? I remember my grandmother talking about how they'd sit around the radio and listen. That was entertainment.
Appointment listening, yeah.
Yeah. And then moving on, what was the radio program that 1930-something where the War of the Worlds?
Yeah, Orson Welles.
Right. Orson Welles. And that captivated America. And now, we have radio, of course, is still growing, but there's podcasts. So where does this fall in terms of radio and podcasts?
Do you want to?
Well, I mean, it's kind of both right now. So, your typical radio stations you're going to listen to, and you flip on the radio in your car is going to have commercials and stuff, and we don't have any of that. So in that regard, it's a little bit more feeling like a podcast because we don't have commercial breaks. I mean, we could do that. It'd be more for fun and entertainment value right now. Might go that route in some capacity, talk about local, PSAs or, local businesses or whatever. But right now it's kind of standalone shows. You'll record I was listening to a couple of students who recorded about an 18-minute radio program, and it was basically a podcast because there was no commercials, no breaks. It was kind of just them spitballing and talking about some important topics.
Yeah, and we don't have the capacity to go live just yet, but we've asked teachers to come up with top 10 lists, and we've been speaking with students about shows they might be interested in running. We're perpetually in a brainstorming mode of, how the radio might be able to serve classrooms and classroom teachers and people looking to explore topics on just a different level, and then produce and put those things out for the school at large. Mr. Pliner has recorded a short spot. The principal's office, I think, maybe was the title of it, and we have a lot of music running right now as the station gets off the ground. But yeah, a lot of it's all of it has to be at this point pre-recorded and scheduled, and maybe in the not too distant future. This thing seems to be moving a lot faster than we really anticipated, maybe even like a month ago. But maybe in the not too distant future, we'll be able to run some live radio show and live broadcasting.
How would live radio shows? What do you need to do that?
Well,
there's some kind of software that's needed, and that's more of a Tim Tynan question. He's been talking with our IT folks, some people who know a little bit more than we do on some of that stuff. But there's one small. I don't even know if it's a small step, but there's an additional step that's needed with software to get us there. So it's not like it's that far off. It's just not at this particular moment.
Will you ever have any? Have you thought about doing dramas on the radio? Some sort of drama?
Actually, kind of. We were thinking more along the lines of could re-air, if you will, something like that War of the Worlds that you had alluded to earlier, and but having some sort of scripted drama, soap opera almost type of program is definitely a possibility. So we're kind of open to a lot of different concepts and ideas for whether it's a student or a staff member or something to come in and do something like that. But yeah, just a lot of entertainment. We want, I think it's safe to say, it's great to have music, but we'd love to have as much content created by the students as possible.
Yeah, we really want it to be an open venue, open platform for just about anybody to produce and put something out there. And so it's really a blank canvas, but radio is just so powerful from the standpoint of, you can rebroadcast and replay and listen to on your own time. So yeah, whether it's, a deep dive into a social issue, which would be more of like the podcast format, to podcast format, but in the form of entertainment and theater, produce sound effects. I mean, those things have entered into our discussions at times. It would be fun to reconceive and rebroadcast something like a War of the Worlds, not to set the school and the community
get into panic.
Into a panic. But yeah, those are fun ideas. I think could gain some steam.
That'd be a cool thing to do, to reenact some of those old radio shows. Now, Chapter a Day, very popular across the country. You can access it across the world now with technology. I want to talk now, Eric. You do the Panther Vision.
Yeah.
So have you had kids in Panther Vision come in here and do something?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of use that vehicle as sort of a means to get the word out about Panther Radio, and there's a little bit of overlap for sure. But yeah, I have a couple folks from Panther Vision coming into Panther Radio. Are
people more relaxed doing this rather than being on camera? Very often when I go and film people, they're very nervous. So we have a pre-interview and talk to them, and all of a sudden we're filming.
Yeah.
Is this better to capture people that?
I like to think so. I think that's probably the safer route to go, in terms of that. If you're looking for an entry level, if you will, type of way to have your voice heard or to get involved in media, I think radio is a nice way to go. I mean, that's where I started. It was kind of that same thing. It's looking at a camera's weird. It's we always judge how we look, we judge how we sound, but that's at least one of the two elements. So you're kind of down to, what do I sound like? What kind of content do I want? And I think, I've seen some folks that have come in that, maybe you wouldn't think they're necessarily interested in being part of a broadcast thing out there for anybody to listen to. And it's surprising to see them really come alive when, the mic's turned on and here they are, creating a show.
In terms of music, you say you play music. How do you get access to music? Can it be copywritten music that you can play? How does that all work?
Yeah, so as a part of the software that we're using to essentially organize the station, copyright access, or however that might be described, is sort of built into that. So we have a certain allotment of music that we can play, and then the company that provides the software, they have taken care of the legal components when it comes to music playing. So if it's going through the station, then it's a-okay.
So the music is any of it mainstream popular music that they're utilizing? And if so, the second part of that question is, can you revolve? I guess you could revolve a show around that music and talk about the artist and the instruments, how it's written, orchestrated. Can you dive into it that much, or are there copyright rules that you have to uphold?
I think in part, I mean, that's really what we're encouraging people to do, students, and some teachers have done some of that so far, as we asked for folks to share some music that they like. A couple of teachers have shared a little bit about the song or about the artist. And some of our early conversations with some students, we've put that out there as, hey, tell us a little bit about this music genre, tell us, what you found about it, or, what it means to you, or just really helping others dive into it a little bit. So as long as the access, the legalities to the copyright, and our ability to use the music, we really would love for people to use that as like a back and forth between music and then talking about the music and so on.
Yeah, and I think that's, when you have an interview, like they'll ask you a lot of times, tell me about yourself, and I think that's a hard question to answer sometimes. But if you say, give me 2 or 3 artists that you like, that's a little easier question to handle. I think that kind of also says the same thing. So to the point about the music list that we were asking some folks to submit for us, if you're a student listening to a playlist created by one of your teachers, you're really going to learn a lot about that teacher, what they're like, outside of the classroom. And I think that's kind of fun way to answer that question about who are you type of thing. So I like it from that standpoint as well.
Take me and the audience into the future. I know everyone dreams of something. Something bigger than where we are at this moment. We have an idea. Where would you like this to go? What would you like to feature that you haven't done yet, that you'd enlist students or teachers, community members?
That's a good question. I think we might each have, ask each of us here at Panther Radio what we would like it to go into, and I think there's probably going to be 3 different answers. And, for me, I'm looking at, there's so many different things within the community that, you're doing with OCAmedia that we could kind of combine into a radio format. So whether it's a performance, here at the high school or just in town, or, we could air town hall meeting audio, or sporting events, and take some of that stuff. And I think just having a voice for the community in that way, but, try to rein it in, at least for now, to be, we want it to be high school focused for now. But yeah, I think that's going to be a big goal there, is to have, just another voice. So like Voice of Monona has their student run radio station that's been very popular. So not a bad model to at least take some ideas from and take forward.
Or any radio show all over the country. Take notes from that.
And I think we all are going to take parts of our past. So, Brian here and Tim and myself all have background in radio. And so I think that's part of, take pieces of what we've learned from the past and apply it here. So it's I think definitely part of the formula for making this work.
Yeah. And I always envision, this as a club or an activity or something that's effectively balanced with student-run, teacher-guided, and the content is mostly student-produced, but the teachers modeling some things that might be put out there on the radio. Eric and I have been talking a couple of times about the Packers, and the first student show that aired last week was a conversation between 2 students, sort of a similar format, just different topic. And I'm always thinking, I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I'm always thinking, well, what would that sound like as a story? And I think about my experiences in the building and translating, students taking a microphone out, talking with people, interacting with groups, bringing that audio back to the studio, to the cutting room, and piecing those things together in an abbreviated format that really captures life within the community and within the school that you can digest on your own terms in about 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes, just depending on the depth to which somebody goes with it. And then those things are available, and folks have an opportunity to get to know one another without necessarily having to sit next to each other. But as I listen to things, and I might see folks or interact with folks, whether it's online or just come across a story, and then that background, I'm carrying it with me as I move into an interaction. And I didn't have to sit down with someone at an appointed time of day. That's sort of like a power of radio, and obviously internet media. We can sort of schedule our time to interact with it. But what a great opportunity for students, whether it's on their own time, for teachers to organize or structure opportunities for students to produce media as a way to capture what they're learning and what they're understanding in ways that are fun and exciting. And when you start adding in sounds and producing something that has this entertainment, dramatic quality to it, if it's something that you get into, editing is a world you can get lost in, which sometimes it's maddening, but a lot of it's fun because it's really fueling the imagination. So it has a lot of potential.
So does the Panther Radio, does it have a particular intro that you'll stay with?
Well, so Panther Radio is going to be comprised of a lot of different types of shows. So I think each show is going to have its own intro. Is the one of, I guess, the more immediate goal, at least for me. I want to be able to produce that stuff for each of the shows, so everybody kind of has their own little identity. So the station itself, we have some station IDs that we've recorded, but as far as I think each show is going to have its own.
So can you be mobile?
Pre-recorded for sure. Yeah, you could take. Phones. It's not as good as the microphones we have in front of us, but your phone can get pretty good audio. Yeah. At least good enough for a roaming reporter type of situation, or you just happen to be somewhere where you really need to get this would make really great audio for Panther Radio. Go and get it.
Yeah, and those are some of the things that we have on our list of things to keep an eye out and acquire. Microphones that plug into an old iPhone that's just sitting in a drawer, or scouring eBay for a nice used Zoom microphone that somebody can put a few batteries in and carry around and ask some questions. I took my own little Zoom mic up to an event and recorded some sounds and pieced some things together. So yeah, we're certainly mobile, and then training students and training people on how to use a mic, how close should it be to someone, and how do you maintain good sound quality, and what are some things you should take with you in your mind or on a list into something that you want to investigate and then produce. But yeah, certainly mobile. We don't have to be sitting in front of mics in a studio to produce something. There's a lot of stuff out there, even more now than 10, 15 years ago, I'm guessing.
I always think of myself interviewing, I am a curious person. I want to find out about things. In terms of the students doing interviews, do you guide that? Is that an attribute that you need to be curious and have ideas and questions?
I think it certainly helps, especially if you're going to go into, like you're interviewing people for the program, and if we're going to have some people who maybe want to go into reporting in the future, obviously it's going to be a good thing to have as a quality, is that curiosity and knowing what questions to ask, not being afraid to ask questions. But you can do something as I guess simple. If you want to talk to someone in their garden or whatever, you're walking around town and want to ask some questions about what they got in their garden, you could do something like that and just ask those questions and find an interest of yours. So I don't know. I guess there's all sorts of different personalities that's going to be great for radio.
Sometimes when I listen to interviews, I know that they have producers have come in and they have the questions. They
Right.
know, Shark Tank is a big one. When you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
So Shark Tank, it's a TV show, but they know already what's going to happen. They have knowledge. Now, none of those people have knowledge of every little thing. Like they have knowledge. Sometimes the knowledge of something, I think, blocks a question that may just come up at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that elicits these thoughts of the best podcasts that I listen to regularly. I think more so, yeah, the interviewers who are in there in the moment, yeah, they've clearly done some preparation because they may be speaking with people who have more expertise than they do. But the best podcasts help a listener to feel as though they're learning right along with the folks or the person who's doing the interview, and their reactions oftentimes elicit laughter or a surprise or something like that, and maybe even like awkwardly, you're listening to something on a bus or in a car, or I run and I listen to podcasts, and I think I oftentimes laugh or chuckle on the path as I'm passing somebody, and it's because that interviewer was able to react in the moment to what they were learning from the person they were interviewing about some specific topic, as opposed to the podcasts that I've listened to, or even just radio shows, whether it's live radio or not. When somebody has a pre-script of questions and they just ask. And sometimes those elicit some really good stories, but then the stories get cut off or truncated, and you're sort of wishing for a little bit of follow-up.
Going through their checklist of questions as opposed to, I think that chemistry is so important. Well, because, so much of, whether you're doing a news story or whether you're, calling a sporting event or what we're doing right now, it's informative, it's educational, but there's also, it's entertainment as well. So it's, you want to have, a reason to have people stick around. And sometimes that humor, that spontaneity is exactly what, drives that entertainment value.
Yeah, and other than, I'm really staring at a mic with this popper in front of me. I mean, right now there's less eye contact. If we had the microphone set up differently, then, it may even be more of a natural conversation for us as it is now. And, I can read people's faces or body language in the moment. But there is something to being in the studio, and it's quiet, and there aren't really distractions, and you're really in a space that you're kind of creating around topic or some sort of dynamic between us, between the people who are speaking, and we're really attentive to that as opposed to everything that might be happening outside these walls. So I enjoy being in a quiet place in general, but it's fun being in the studio and just thinking and talking in general.
You referenced this. Would you tell our audience what that is and what it does?
Yeah, this popper, it keeps the microphone dry, number one. And, when we talk, and like when you make your T sound or the P sound or the P, so you're making these little bursts of noise, it protects the microphone from, taking in that sound and, peaking the audio quality. So it really just helps maintain sound quality and keep the microphone on the other side of it in good working, clean order. Yeah.
Great. Guys, this has been great talking with you. I'm excited about the what you're going to do with this in the future. I hope if you do anything, I'm sure you're going to do great things, but anything else, I'd love to come back when you get students involved, or if you get a drama going in here, or just some...
I think it'd be cool to have you come in and, get over the shoulder of some students doing a show, and,
Call me, text me.
Yeah.
We'll do.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? How can people find you? I'll put it up there, but how?
Yeah, there you go. That's a good question. Pantherradio.org.
That's
so
right.
It's got a web page, so you can go there, see what's playing, see kind of the different playlists we've got, and
yeah, and if you go there to pantherradio.org, you might notice that it changes by the day. So it's an ongoing thing right now, but that's the place.
Wonderful. Guys, thanks for being with us today on Oregon Life. This is a different type of show for us.